Crack's compound eyes focused on her. Oh no, you're the Death Worlder. Do you have something to add? Hayes shifted her weight, and I swear every alien in that room tensed. Humans have this reputation. They come from a planet that actively tries to kill its inhabitants daily. The training ground smelled like recycled air and fear, which honestly was standard for a Galactic Coalition boot camp. What wasn't standard was the humans standing in formation with the rest of my squad looking about as concerned as a sleeping herbivore. Drill Sergeant Cracks, all 7 feet of chitinous fury, paced in front of us like a predator sizing up prey. His mandibles clicked with irritation, a sound that usually made recruits from civilized worlds wet themselves. Not today, though. Today we had Corporal Hayes. Hey, listen up, you soft-shelled waste of genetic material, Cracks bellowed, his voice echoing off the metal walls. This is a simulation, a controlled environment designed to test your limits without actually killing you. Do you understand, sir? Yes, sir, we all shouted back. Well, most of us. Hayes just kind of nodded like she agreed with someone commenting on the weather. They come from a planet that actively tries to murder them daily. Gravity that would crush most species. An atmosphere that's basically slow-acting poison to anyone not evolved there. And weather patterns that make our disaster simulations look like children's entertainment. With respect, Sergeant, Hayes said calmly. I think you might be wrong about that. The silence that followed could have been sold as a weapon. Excuse me, Cracks hissed dangerously. The killing part, Hayes continued, completely unfazed. You said this won't kill us. But I've been reviewing the scenarios, and unless you've significantly upgraded your medical facility since yesterday, there are at least 17 ways someone could die in exercise Theta 4. My translator struggled with the collective gasp from the squad. Cracks moved closer, mandibles inches from her face. She didn't even blink. Are you questioning my training protocols, Corporal? No, sir. I'm correcting your assessment of lethality potential. Big difference. I wanted to laugh. I also wanted to flee. It was a confusing time. Cracks straightened up, and for a moment I thought he might actually smile if his species could. Very well, Hayes. Since you're so confident, you'll take point on today's exercise. Alone. The rest of us exhaled in relief. Hayes just shrugged. 30 minutes later, we were watching from the observation deck as Hayes entered the combat zone. It was a standard urban warfare scenario. 14 hostile drones, various cover points, limited ammunition. Most recruits took 40 minutes to complete it. The record was 18 minutes, held by a scene shock trooper whose nervous system processed information 3 times faster than baseline humanoids. How long do you think she'll last? Whispered Vin, my bunkmate from Proxima 6, whose species had never invented warfare. 10 minutes before she calls for extraction, I muttered. We were both catastrophically wrong. Hayes moved through that zone like liquid violence. No, like someone who'd done this before, in real situations where mistakes meant actual death instead of respawn. Every corner checked, every sight line calculated, every movement economical. The first drone spotted her at the 3-minute mark. She was already shooting before its targeting system could lock. The second and third drones came from opposite directions. She dropped behind cover, counted to 2, popped up elsewhere, and eliminated both with shots my translator insisted were impossible. By the void, Vin breathed. She's not even breathing hard. The biometric display showed Hayes' heart rate steady at 70 beats per minute. Mine was higher just watching her. At the 8-minute mark, something went wrong or right depending on your perspective. The simulation glitched. 14 drones suddenly became 28, their safety protocols offline. Real weapons, real danger. Cracks launched toward the emergency shutdown, but Hayes' voice crackled through the comms. Don't, Corporal. Those drones are armed with live ammo. This is no longer a training exercise. Hayes laughed, a sound that wasn't nice. Sergeant, with all due respect, she said. It never was. Not for me. Then she went to work. What happened next would be analyzed in tactical courses for the next decade. Hayes dominated those drones, using their programming against them, creating crossfire scenarios where they destroyed each other, leading them into environmental hazards no one had anticipated. 12 minutes and 43 seconds after entering the zone, Hayes walked out covered in coolant spray and combat dust with exactly 2 rounds remaining in her weapon. Cracks met her at the door. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. You could have been killed, he said finally. Yeah, that's usually how it works where I'm from. Sergeant, every day is a war when your planet wants you dead before breakfast. She walked past him, past all of us, watching with our mouths hanging open, and called over her shoulder. The next morning, nobody in the barracks wanted to get near Hayes. She sat alone at breakfast, calmly eating something that looked like it could eat her back, while the rest of us huddled at the far end like scared young lynx. She's insane, Finn whispered. Completely, utterly insane. She's human. I corrected him. There's a difference, though I'm not entirely sure what it is. Cracks had been oddly quiet since yesterday's incident. Command reviewed the footage 17 times looking for protocol violations. They found none. Hayes had followed every regulation to the letter, which somehow made the whole thing more terrifying. She turned a catastrophic equipment failure into a masterclass in combat efficiency without breaking a single rule. Training that day was different. Cracks divided us into 2 teams for a capture the flag scenario in a forest zone. Standard stuff except for one tiny detail. Hayes was a team of 1. You're joking, I said. There are 12 of us. Correct, Private Quinn. 12 of you. 1 of her. You have 20 minutes to capture your flag and return it. She has to stop you. Crack's mandibles clicked, his version of amusement. Begin in 5 minutes. We huddled for strategy, suggested splitting into 3 groups. Dax 4, our resident tactical genius, proposed a diversion, followed by a speed run. I suggested we surrender immediately and hope Hayes had a sense of humor. Nobody listened. 2 minutes in, our point scout vanished mid-step without a sound. His tracker showed him in a rest position, meaning he'd been tagged out. Spread out. Ducks fire. She can't be everywhere at once. Wrong again. Over the next 8 minutes, Hayes picked us off like she was harvesting fruit. Vin got tagged crossing a stream. Dax 4 fell for a distraction that wouldn't fool a juvenile. 3 others were caught in psychological traps. By minute 11, it was just me and 2 others. We reached the flag, 10 meters away down a clear corridor. Too easy, I muttered. One teammate yelled, breaking cover. Hayes dropped from the ceiling, the actual ceiling, wedged into support beams not designed for anything larger than maintenance drones. Both teammates were tagged before they processed what happened. That left me, the flag, and a human enjoying herself. You know what's funny, Quinn? Hayes said, walking toward me with her rifle lowered. Your Tuesdays involve combat scenarios against superior numbers. My Tuesdays involve getting groceries in a city where the weather can kill you. The local wildlife sees you as food. Half the infrastructure is held together with optimism and spite. This is vacation. I should have run. I should have tried something desperate. Instead, I asked the question burning in my mind. Why did you join the coalition military? You could have stayed on Earth, been safe, relatively speaking. Hayes laughed. A warm, genuine laugh. Safe on Earth? Quinn, there's no such thing. There's just different levels of dangerous. At least here, things try to kill me on purpose instead of by accident. She raised her rifle. Now, are you going to move? Or do I come get you? I made a move. A bad, poorly executed move. Hayes tagged me out in about 2 seconds. But I made it, and somehow that felt important. After the exercise, during debrief, Cracks addressed the group. Mandibles still, meaning he was serious. You all learned something today. Some learned about tactics, others about awareness. But the real lesson is this. He gestured to Hayes, drinking water as if she had just completed a light jog instead of defeating 12 trained soldiers. Different species bring different strengths. Humans come from a world that makes our worst nightmares look like pleasant dreams. They've adapted to survive what would kill most of us before breakfast. Vin raised a tentacle hesitantly. So, we should never fight humans? No, Crack said. I'm saying you should be very, very grateful they're on our side. He caught my eye across the room and winked. Somehow, that was more frightening than everything else combined. Later, in the barracks, as we compared bruises and wounded pride, Vin turned to me. You know what the scariest part is? Everything, I offered. She wasn't even trying that hard. He gestured at the training scores posted on her share display. Hayes completed both exercises at maybe 60% effort. Imagine when she's actually trying. I didn't want to imagine. None of us did. But somewhere in my mind, I realized that when the real war came, the one we were training for, I wanted to be as far from the front lines as possible, unless Hayes was there. Then, I wanted to be right behind her because apparently that was the safest place in the entire galaxy. Funny how perspectives change. Please follow my channel for more videos. One click from you can change my life.